Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Going to cover some travel news, some Philippine news here today. So let's get into it. If you're planning on traveling, you probably know there are a number of countries that are still closed to tourists, foreigners. Some countries have opened up, they've closed back down. Some have many more restrictions than others do. Anyway, one thing you're going to need is, in most countries, will require you to have at least 6 months of validity on your passport to let you into their countries. And make sure you have enough pages available so there's places to stamp. Now, Vietnam took one whole page. Philippines will use little stickers, but the last year or two, they've just been stapling the receipts in there, so they take up a lot of space as well. So update your passport if you don't have a lot of time on it. They're good for 10 years. When you renew them, you can get, I think, a passport with 20 some pages or about 48 pages, 50 pages. Um, my understanding is that the U.S. Passport Office has a backlog of about 2 million, and so it would take some time to process. There are services out there who will charge you varying amounts. This particular company, I'm not associated with them. It's Easy Passport and Visa Service. Have a relatively small fee, and they even have an app for both Android and iPhones where you can take your picture using your phone and process it. And anyway, worth checking out, I guess. I heard about it on a couple of I've read about it and I've heard about it on a couple travel sites as well. My passport is still good for about 5 years, so I'm good for a while. Way back in July, no alternative but to reopen economy and amid spike in new cases. And different parts of the Philippines have opened up to greater extent. Some places are still under pretty strict operations, and they've opened up many, many different types of businesses under the modified quarantine. But here in Cebu City, the restrictions still apply pretty much, stay-at-home orders, even under the more businesses are opening up. But many people are told you need to stay home unless you're working, unless you're essential. Even though they're opening up some of the tourist areas, really most people are not allowed to go there except for the locals, apparently. Manila opened up Manila Bay sands. They brought in some kind of like white crushed dolomite rock sand type product along a couple of kilometers, I think, of the Manila Bay. And they opened that up to the locals, and the locals took over one or two lanes of the Rojas Boulevard, I think it is, to go and view that site, to experience the bay. There are a few things starting to happen though on the positive side. Perhaps updates on Thailand has come out and said they're going to offer a special tourist visa, going to cost 2,000 baht. Has to be at least 90 days. You have to stay there 90 days. You can renew it twice, I think. You still have to undergo a 14-day quarantine. You have to come in on a charter flight, I believe. A number of other issues that you can check. The Tiger, I pulled this off the tiger.com, and here's some of the information from that site. You can read a little. 2,000 baht is about 64 US dollars, I believe. So by renewing it, you could stay a total of about 270 days. I'm not going to try to go into details because they can change by the day also. So go to the government site or some of the news sites, check out the latest. Thailand and the Philippines are both hoping that domestic tourism will help pull their economies back. But the people are starving. The government says they're out of money. They can't send out any more money to feed the people, the different towns. And the businesses Pattaya and Phuket, some other areas, desperately, they run on foreign tourism basically, as does much of the Philippines. The what is it? One in Tourism industry contributes 12.7% of the gross domestic product. 14 out of 100 employed Filipinos engage in the tourism-related jobs in 2019, and that doesn't even include those on the periphery of that industry, the taxi driver and so many other people in the transportation industry and other supplying the goods and supplies to all those places. There are resorts and areas that cater to different foreigners, Koreans, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Westerners. If you add up, in fact, if you add up all the Western countries here, the tourists from Western countries, and they don't list nearly all of the Western countries. New Zealand isn't on there. Much of the European countries are not on there. It would be as many as Korea at the very top, or perhaps even more, and that's not probably even counting a lot of the long-term expats that are living here as well on other types of visas. Cebu hotels and resorts slash room rates, of course, but where are where are the tourists? Where are the customers? I really think they need to open up. There is some good news happening on the medical side of this. They are developing fast and cheap antigen tests that you can actually do at the saliva tests you can do at home that are accurate enough that, you know, if you're positive, you stay home. You don't go to work, you don't go to school, those types of things. These more expensive tests that are offered expensive and take time, it's just doesn't seem to be working. There's also good news in that they're simple things, and for instance, vitamin D has been shown. Those who have low levels of vitamin D end up with the can get the more of those people get the severe cases, get the disease, and you can even track that around the world, different areas. Japan recovery rate was a very high recovery rate, and they have high levels of vitamin D. Italy has one of the lowest rates in Italy. More tests are coming out with this same absolute data, and it's a very cheap solution preventative measure as well. And high thiamine levels have shown some positive results as well. This sketch came from a very artistic doctor. DRBEEN has a YouTube channel as well. You look at headlines like this, about 1 million people losing their jobs, people going to pawn shops, or may worsen. Of course it will worsen. Many millions of people will go back into poverty, deep poverty. Teen pregnancy rate much worse, and they're expecting a big population explosion because of these lockdowns. The Philippines is actually the fourth largest shipbuilder in the world. And yeah, they're having to retrench and just try to survive. And it's you know, the world economy. And you look at the fact that you read about cases, but the fact is that fewer and fewer people are dying because of this. They have a number of medicines that they've used for years and years and years that are helping to prevent, to treat those with more severe cases. The great majority of people have mild to or even no symptoms at all. And there is an issue with the testing that was even in the New York Times. The tests are so sensitive, they're picking up even fragments of virus where you are not either sick, infected, and you cannot give it to other people. This headline back in May even, and it's gotten a lot worse since then. Finally, more and more people are talking about it, but many of the people who are making the decisions are not talking about it. The fact of the matter is, I think it's very clear that many more people will die because of the lockdown, the economics, the worldwide disaster that the lockdown has caused than would ever have, worst case scenario, would ever have died from the virus. There's a lot of good data out there, but it takes time to search it out. Ivor Cummins' website is good. He has interviewed some of the top medical scientists, people who have views on this, are willing to step out and talk about it. Look at charts like this. Look at Brazil, who didn't have a lockdown, and Sweden, and they got a lot of bad press. Look where they are as far as deaths per million. Finally, but not getting up to the decision makers, those in control. New thinking on lockdowns, overly blunt and extremely costly, life-wise and money-wise. Now, who doesn't want to open up the economy? Well, if you've got a good paying job or if you're getting high levels of unemployment, you don't have to go to work. If you're heavily invested in companies that are going to make billions of dollars off of this, there are people who who want the lockdown to stay forever. They want to either destroy the economy or get rich from the lockdown economy. You look at a headline like this: Philippines will not open to international tourism till the second half of 2021, and then they will start doing it by doing it regionally. And you've got to hope that people are starting to think more creatively, like Thailand is. Come up with put your foot in the water, test some different types of visas, different types of bringing in tourism. Your economy, the people, the working people, desperately need this to survive. And then you look at additional data points, and I took this off of Ivor Cummins' website as well. Not website, but YouTube channel. And you look at Sweden without a lockdown, and all the states in the U.S. that had a higher death rate per million. Now we'll see how many of you are still with me. I found this online. What a gator on helium sounds like. Somebody actually did the test. And the answer is, I think it sounds like a belch, is what I read. They put it in a room and filled it with a mix of helium and oxygen, and let out a belch. There are many things you cannot do online, and visiting the Philippines is one of them. You know, it's fun to watch the videos and see some of the sites that you can visit. But until you actually get your feet on the ground here or other places in the world and travel, over 60% of the people in the U.S. Polled they said that they would be interested in international travel. So I think if they will open up, because of the data shows that I think that they should open up economically. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. Absolutely does not. And the Philippines would reap a great reward, as would Thailand and other countries as well. Anyway, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.